Once upon a time, cars didn't have airbags or anti-lock brakes. When they were first available, it was only as an upgrade in luxury cars. Now you can find great safety features in affordable cars. Here to share the top 10 most affordable vehicles that also get nods for safety, Joe DeMacio, deputy editor of Automobile Magazine, and James Bell is with General Motors. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
How did you come up with this list?
I started it was during the holidays. I was giving advice to family on buying new cars, and I thought they should have this sort of equipment. And so after the holidays, I got back to the office. We started compiling a list of the 10 most affordable cars that have these 4 safety features, which I consider kind of the new wave, because they're still optional on most cars. And that's lane departure warning, blind spot detection, forward collision alert, and a rear view camera. So that's how it all started.
What are some of the cars that have those features? What made the list?
Well, we have 3 of them with us today. The most affordable is this Buick Verano at less than $26,000. We have a Chevy Malibu. We have a Buick Encore crossover. We have on the list there are a couple of Mazdas. There's a Chrysler. There's a Jeep. There's a Ford. There's a Nissan. There's another Chevy. So interestingly, the American car makers got a lot of cars on the list. They have
That's
7
great.
of the 10.
Yeah. And James, you're from GM. Would you talk about sort of the safety standpoint and technology from your point of view?
Sure. Well, I think the great way to kind of illustrate it is to jump in this Buick Encore here. In fact, personal story, my wife just bought one of these last week, and she came home from a little runaround on Saturday and said, "Hey, I think something's wrong with the new car. I keep getting this little light flashing in the mirror here." And I said, "Oh, actually, that's something that's very right. That's the blind spot detection system that Joe mentioned. Basically, you have sensors in the back of the vehicle that are watching that space that's difficult to see when you're driving. Either the mirror doesn't quite catch it for you, or you don't want to take your eyes off the road and look around back physically." So I said, pay attention to that light. That's a good thing to know about before you start changing lanes. Another good one is lane departure warning. Essentially, there are monitors that are keeping an eye on the painted lines on the road as you're driving. If you start to drift out of lane, maybe something's fallen down in the passenger footwell, or the kids are acting up in the back, and you have to turn your attention away from the road and you start to drift, which we've all done 1,000 times. This is a system to help to remind you to bring you back into space. And the last one, which I think is probably the most valuable, especially if it's ever gone into work for you and it's saved your life, is forward collision alert. And this is a system that's watching the cars ahead of you. If they start to slow down, but the car senses that you have not noticed that because you haven't taken your foot off the gas or you haven't applied the brake, it will then come on with some very serious warnings to say, hey, pay attention, get yourself ready. In fact, the passenger seatbelt, or sorry, the seatbelts and the braking system are kind of pre-charged and given that extra element of being ready, because the whole point is to be able to avoid the accident in the first place rather than just surviving it safely.
It's incredible to think about all of these features and affordability sort of in the same conversation. Is there a website that, James, you would recommend, or Joe, where you would send our viewers to learn more about these cars, the features, the list?
Yes, our article is at automobilemag.com/news. with all 10 cars.
Great. And James?
And if you're interested in any of the Buick technology we've talked about, please go to Buick.com.
Sounds good. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mary.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mike?